We also have, speaking of healthcare and the impact on the private sector, the impact is also growing on the public sector. And United States Comptroller David Walker has had a series of town hall meetings, which he called a fiscal wake-up, on the growing cost of our entitlement programs at the federal level, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. And he says these are financially just unsustainable. What are your thoughts on that? What would you do to make these systems, keep them from collapsing, or how would you change them?
Well, I'm familiar with Mr. Walker's work, and it's really very interesting work indeed. It's obviously it's a tremendous problem. I'm not telling you something you don't know. The first thing to do is make medicine more cost effective. You know, can you imagine if we were able to knock 30% or 25% out of those bills in one fell swoop? What a huge opportunity that would be for this nation. And then when you get to Social Security, you know, you're going to have to do something. You can't have 3 people or 2 people supporting every retired person. You know, the ratio of workers to the elderly is changing. So we're going to have to do something with Social Security. I know that is a very delicate subject.
Have you studied that issue to an extent?
I have, and I don't see how we're going to actually provide the younger people of this nation with Social Security as we know it 30 years down the line without some form of privatization. I just don't think it can be done.
President Bush has proposed that, as you
right.
know, as far as trying to partial privatization. What are your thoughts on that kind of an approach?
Well, I'm not sure that I have a better solution. I'm not sure that I do.
Would you support that?
I would support it in some forms. I'm not sure exactly what form that should take, but I think we have to at least go revisit that discussion one more time, because the current system, I mean, everybody has to understand what we're doing will not work in the distant future at all. We've got to come up with some answers here. At least let's restart the discussion. Perhaps it'll lead us somewhere different. Perhaps it will lead us back to the same place. I don't know. But I know ignoring this topic is not making it go away.
At present, I believe the line in Social Security, which is presently running a profit, so to speak, they don't call it a profit, but it's cash flow positive. I think Social Security is going to go cash flow negative at approximately 2018 or so, give or take what the economy does between here and there.
Right, that's Mr. Walker's estimates.
So I would just for our viewers' sake, it's not necessarily a distant problem. In fact, Senator or Congressman Rahm Emanuel just proposed a bit of a private funding source for that. I didn't know if you had seen.
I was not aware of that. I'd like to see that. I hope that's true. I think the people of this nation are going to need it, and I hope people will begin to understand that, you know, you can't just say no, no, no all the time. Sometimes you have to think creatively.
Let's talk on some of the social issues. I don't want to use labels. Let's just go into some of the issues. Where do you stand on certainly abortion is a big issue? What's your position on that?
Well, my position lies exactly in my personal behaviors. My wife has devoted countless hours to crisis pregnancy centers. We have devoted thousands of dollars to crisis pregnancy centers. There's too many abortions in the state of Illinois and in the United States, and we need to do something. We need to stop talking and start doing.
Are you opposed to abortion, or
I'm personally opposed to abortion. Yes.
What would you do as a senator?
I would urge people, and I would look for ways to diminish the number of abortions in this country. They're just, crisis pregnancy centers have done such a...
Here's, and I didn't mean, but just to clarify.
Yes.
Some people say I would work to outlaw abortion. Some would say I would not work to outlaw abortion, but I would discourage it. I just want to clarify what your position is.
Well, what I'm saying is that the law of the land is the law of the land. And my role up to this point in this issue has been to personally make an effort to decrease the number of abortions in this state. And that's where I still stand. I can't change the laws. And I'm not going to be given that opportunity, as far as I know, in any position that I would see.
You could vote for a Supreme Court nominee who might be...
and I would probably tend to vote for a fairly strict constructionist judge. I'll make no bones about that. That's who I am. I think we have legislated from the bench a little bit too much. And so that would be my position there. But what I'm mostly interested in is we've got a model in crisis pregnancy centers that save babies every day. Why would we not want to do that? This provides support, education, and information to pregnant women to make their decisions so much more complete and well-informed. And it turns out to be a wonderful thing for babies and mothers. And I just want to push that concept as hard as we can because I think it actually does something. And I want to do something about this.
How about in education? We have now where we're looking, the Congress is going to look at whether or not to renew, and if so, change or not change the No Child Left Behind, which was one of the hallmarks of President Bush's domestic policy. What are your thoughts on No Child Left Behind? And also on education, would you go along with school of choice or not school of choice?
Well, I certainly think No Child Left Behind is great. That we have to have some standards. In a huge bureaucracy such as the education system is, you have to have some standards and you have to hold people accountable. And I'm sorry that that's the case, but I truly believe it is the case. Most people are held accountable to some standards, and the education system should be also. So I have no problem with No Child Left Behind at all.
Let me jump in that. I've heard some teachers, I don't know if you've talked to teachers about it, what I hear is some English teachers, as an example, would complain that because, say, Shakespeare is not on the test, they're instructed to no longer teach Shakespeare. They can only teach what's on the test, and that the problem from their viewpoint of No Child Left Behind is that it's actually diminishing the quality of education because they're being forced by their administrators to make sure their kids are going to do well on that test, and so they only teach to the test instead of teaching what kids may need to know, not just on Shakespeare, but in areas of history and all. Have you heard these comments, and if so, what are your thoughts?
I've heard both sides of this coin from teachers, and there is no perfect system. We're not going to get perfect, but we've got to have accountability, as I've said. And if you do a really great job of teaching your material, throw Shakespeare in as a bonus. I mean, there's no reason that you're limited, and I'd hate to see school administrators limit teachers that much, but obviously get the job done.
The limitation would be from the administration to the teacher.
Well, the teachers and the administrator have to sit down and say, are we where we want to be? Can we add this in? This is an ongoing discussion of what's included. Maybe Shakespeare should be included. You know, I'm not an educator per se, and I would think this could be worked out in some fashion, and I'm sure they do work it out. The fact of the matter is, I don't think lessening standards gets us anywhere. And I don't think we can use this as an excuse. I think we have to continue. I think this has been advantageous. I think the scores show us some good things. Let's continue to work with it rather than work against it and take it apart.